Welcome to the deep dive. I want you to picture this. You are sitting on a beautiful, sun-drenched beach, just, sipping a pina colada.
Sounds pretty ideal right about now.
Right. You are completely relaxed. There isn't a single stressful thought in your mind. And then suddenly, without any warning at all, your heart just starts violently pounding against your ribs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, your vision narrows into this dark tunnel and your legs feel like they're just going to completely give out underneath you. I mean, your
Wow.
body is reacting exactly as if a grizzly bear just stepped out of the ocean ready to strike.
But the beach is totally empty.
Exactly, the beach is empty.
The sheer terror of that moment is, it's something millions of people experience.
Mhm.
The physiological machinery of survival just kicks into complete overdrive, but there is absolutely no threat to be found anywhere.
Sure, so jarring.
It is. It's this profound, terrifying disconnect.
And that is our mission today. We are taking a deep dive into the really startling reality that anxiety is not always just in your head. Like, it can be this massive, invisible, whole-body explosion.
Yeah, which is terrifying if you don't know what's happening.
Exactly. So we are pulling our insights today from Dr. Tracy Marks. She's a psychiatrist who specializes in mental health education. And for you listening, if you are just so tired of that simplistic advice to, just take a deep breath or stop overthinking.
The worst advice.
Right. We are going to cut through that noise today. We're going to decode these terrifying physical symptoms of anxiety and figure out what your body is actually doing behind the scenes.
I think decoding the body's signals is so crucial because, honestly, until you understand how your nervous system translates distress, you are almost guaranteed to misinterpret what's happening to you.
Because it just feels so real.
It is real, but people often assume that, if their mind is calm, their body should just automatically be calm too.
Right, like they're linked perfectly.
Exactly, but human biology is just, it's far more complex than that.
Okay, let's unpack this a bit.
Hmm.
To understand that complexity, Dr. Marks points out that we really have to split anxiety into two very distinct camps, right?
Right, cognitive anxiety and somatic anxiety.
Yeah, cognitive being the thinking part and somatic being the physical part. Now, obviously, we all experience baseline cognitive worry. Like, that's just part of being human.
And that baseline worry actually keeps us alive. It's a highly adaptive evolutionary trait.
Like worrying about a test.
Exactly. If you're worried about failing an upcoming exam or how you're going to pay a looming bill, that cognitive friction forces you to study harder or, budget your money better.
It's useful.
Right. It's a direct response to a tangible threat in your immediate environment.
But the danger only starts when that worry sort of detaches from immediate reality. Like, Dr. Marks highlights how cognitive anxiety becomes a clinical disorder when the scope and the intensity of those thoughts just completely hijack your conscious mind.
Yes.
She uses this really fascinating example of obsessing over something massive, like world peace.
Which, desiring world peace is obviously a noble pursuit.
Sure, absolutely.
But as a daily personal anxiety, it is incredibly disproportionate because it's not this immediate solvable threat to your physical safety in that exact moment.
You can't just fix it before lunch.
Exactly. Or if you look at the flip side of that coin, you can over-worry about a genuine potential threat, like, say, a home invasion.
Right.
But when it crosses into a clinical disorder, you are obsessing over it to such an absolute extreme that you literally cannot stop thinking about it.
It just takes over.
Yeah, it becomes this loop that actively blocks out any pleasant, normal thoughts you might have.
So cognitive anxiety is essentially like having way too many tabs open in your web browser.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
It's like everything is running at once, the memory is just completely cluttered, and the system is overwhelmed by the sheer volume of it all.
Yes, exactly.
But what you're saying is that somatic anxiety, the physical kind we're focusing on, is like the computer's internal fan suddenly spinning out of control and just screaming at top speed, even when the computer monitor is completely blank.
That analogy captures the mechanics perfectly.
Yeah.
And honestly, this is the core revelation from Dr. Marks's research.
Yeah.
A person can experience severe, totally debilitating physical anxiety with absolutely nothing distressing happening in their conscious mind at all.
That is just wild to me.
Right. No racing thoughts about world peace, no obsessive fears about burglars. The mental screen is completely blank, like you said, but the body's internal machinery is just redlining.
But hold on, if my brain is totally focused on enjoying that beach vacation from our example, how does my body override that?
Well,
Like, if my conscious mind says we are safe and my body says we are dying, Who actually wins that argument?
The body almost always wins.
Really?
Oh, yeah, because physical sensations of that magnitude, they demand immediate biological attention. I
Well,
mean, you cannot just ignore a pounding heart.
true, you really can't.
To understand why this happens, we have to look at the autonomic nervous system.
Yeah.
This is essentially your body's autopilot. It controls all the things you don't have to consciously think about, right? Your digestion, your pupil dilation, your resting heart rate.
All the background stuff.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And when someone suffers from somatic anxiety, this autopilot system just begins misfiring.
It just glitches out.
Yeah, it initiates a massive systemic survival response, that classic fight or flight mode,
Yeah.
without waiting for any sort of permission from your conscious brain.
Which brings us back to that invisible bear.
Yes, the bear.
Dr. Marks specifically uses that imagery of a bear breaking into your living room, growling, and like standing up on its hind legs to describe what these physical symptoms actually feel like.
It's a really powerful image.
So let's walk through the biological cascade of what happens when that autopilot system misfires, because she lists 10 incredibly specific and frankly kind of bizarre physical symptoms,
They really are.
starting with heart palpitations. Now, she clarifies this isn't just a fast heartbeat after going for a jog. Right?
No, not at all.
It's feeling the actual heart muscle contracting in your chest while you're completely at rest.
Yeah, and the mechanism behind that is pure survival chemistry. When the autonomic nervous system sounds the alarm, it just floods your bloodstream with adrenaline.
Dumps it in there.
Right. And that adrenaline locks onto the receptors in your heart, signaling it to not just beat faster, but to pump much, much harder, to blast all this oxygen-rich blood to your major muscle groups.
So you're literally feeling the violent mechanical force of an engine preparing you to sprint for your life.
Exactly. Which feels entirely alien and terrifying when you were just, sitting totally still on a couch watching TV.
And because that engine is demanding so much fuel, you get the second symptom, which is shortness of breath.
Well,
People describe this kind of suffocating feeling like they physically cannot pull in enough air no matter how hard they try.
because your body is convinced you are about to engage in extreme physical combat,
Mhm.
right? So your bronchioles, the airways in your lungs, they dilate to take in maximum oxygen.
So you start breathing differently.
Yes, you start breathing really shallowly and rapidly from your chest rather than deeply from your diaphragm. But here's the catch. Since you aren't actually running from a bear, your body doesn't burn off that extra oxygen.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so you disrupt your natural balance of oxygen and carbon dioxide. And that imbalance paradoxically creates the sensation that you are suffocating, even though your lungs are literally full of air.
That is wild. And that chemical imbalance leads right into the next symptom, which is lightheadedness or dizziness.
Yes.
And I really want to highlight a crucial distinction Dr. Marks makes here for anyone listening, because she notes that anxiety dizziness is very different from vertigo.
Right. Very different. Vertigo is an inner ear issue where you literally feel like the room is physically spinning around you, kind of like a merry-go-round.
Okay.
The lightheadedness triggered by somatic anxiety is more of a fading sensation.
Like you're going to pass out.
Exactly. Because of that rapid, shallow breathing we just talked about, your carbon dioxide levels drop. And that drop actually causes the blood vessels in your brain to constrict slightly.
Whoa.
So you get this temporary reduction in blood flow, which makes you feel like the room is getting dark or like you're right on the verge of losing consciousness.
So it's a fading out rather than a spinning around.
Precisely.
And paired with that impending blackout feeling is this sensation of weak legs. She notes that people will say their legs feel like jelly, like they're just going to completely give way and drop them right to the floor.
Yeah, they just completely lose trust in their own skeletal structure.
Why does that happen?
Think about the blood flow redirection. Your autonomic nervous system is actively shunting blood away from non-essential systems and forcing it into your major muscle groups.
So like your thighs and calves.
Exactly, so you can run. Your legs feel like jelly, not because they're weak, but because they are hyper-engorged with blood and basically primed for explosive, violent movement.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, when you force a muscle that is chemically primed for sprinting to just, stand still in a grocery store aisle, it trembles. It feels unstable because your biological intent just doesn't match your physical action.
So, because your heart is violently pounding, you can't breathe, your vision is fading, and your legs are shaking for literally no logical reason, your brain desperately tries to solve the mystery.
Yeah, it has to.
And unfortunately, without a real bear in the room to blame it all on, the only logical conclusion the brain can find is a catastrophic medical emergency.
Because the brain is a meaning-making machine. If it cannot find an external threat, It just assumes an internal failure.
That makes so much sense.
The autonomic nervous system is firing with such intensity that it produces this whole second wave of symptoms that perfectly mimic critical, life-threatening health failures.
Which leads right into the chest and back pressure. Dr. Marks describes this as feeling like you are being physically crushed from the outside.
Yes.
People will feel it radiating through their chest cavity and like wrapping all the way around to their spine.
For this one, we have to look at the intercostal muscles, the muscles right between your ribs. In a fight or flight state, your body literally braces for physical impact.
Like armor.
Exactly. Those muscles tighten like a medieval corset to create this shield of armor over your vital organs.
Oh my God.
Imagine the terror of feeling your rib cage being externally compressed by an invisible vice. It doesn't feel like anxiety at all. It feels like your cardiovascular system is collapsing.
And then that muscle tension travels upward into severe neck and shoulder pain.
Right.
Dr. Marks emphasizes that this pain can be incredibly sharp. And honestly, this is where the modern world just makes everything so much worse.
Oh, absolutely.
Because if you have sudden, crushing chest pressure radiating into severe neck and shoulder pain, and you type those exact symptoms into a search engine, what is the absolute first result you are going to see?
You are going to see heart attack, without a doubt. The internet will instantly validate the absolute most catastrophic interpretation of your physical state.
It just creates this horrific feedback loop. You experience the somatic symptom, you Google it, the search results completely terrify you, which then spikes your cognitive anxiety, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Which then dumps even more adrenaline into your system, making the crushing chest pressure even worse.
A psychological misfire is suddenly perceived as a biological crisis.
And the tragedy there is that once the brain latches onto the idea of a heart attack, the panic just becomes completely self-sustaining.
But then Dr. Marks brings up symptoms that are so strange they don't even map onto a classic heart attack narrative at all.
Yeah, some of these are really bizarre.
For instance, she highlights this sensation of intense heat radiating from the very top of the head and the ears.
Right.
And she specifically calls this out because, as she puts it, people will think something is fundamentally wrong with my brain simply because nobody ever talks about their ears burning during a panic attack.
And the isolation of having a rare symptom is a massive driver of panic.
Oh, totally.
Like, if you have a cough, society understands a cough. But if the crown of your head feels like it is literally on fire for no discernible reason, you feel entirely alone in that experience.
So what's actually causing the heat?
The physiological reason for this heat is profound vasodilation. Your brain's metabolic rate is spiking, and the capillaries in your scalp and ears are expanding to rush blood to the surface of the skin.
To do what? Cool it down.
Exactly. It's a built-in radiator function. But to the person experiencing it, it just feels like a complete neurological meltdown.
I was honestly shocked reading about the next one. Trouble swallowing.
That one scares a lot of people.
She clarifies this isn't like an allergic reaction where your airway is physically swelling shut. People describe it as a distinct, immovable lump in the throat that blocks you from even swallowing saliva.
Right.
It makes sense though, right? If your body thinks it is in mortal danger, digesting a sandwich is probably the absolute last thing it wants to focus on.
That is exactly the mechanism at play. Digestion is a biological luxury.
A luxury, yeah.
When the bear attacks, your autonomic nervous system immediately halts all non-essential functions.
Yep.
Saliva production completely stops, which leads to severe dry mouth. And the muscles in your esophagus proactively constrict to prevent you from eating or choking while you're supposed to be fighting for your life.
Wow.
That physical constriction creates the sensation of a massive lump.
And finally, she discusses visual changes. People report cloudy vision, blurry vision, or even extreme tunnel vision.
Yes.
Here's where it gets really interesting. If you're just sitting on your couch and suddenly you can't swallow properly and your peripheral vision goes totally black, narrowing into a tunnel, wouldn't your absolute first instinct be to assume you're having a stroke?
Oh, 100%.
Like, why would anyone on Earth assume that as a panic attack?
They wouldn't. It's terrifying.
Yeah.
But the biological mechanism behind that tunnel vision is called mydriasis.
Yeah.
It's the extreme dilation of the pupils.
Okay, why do they dilate?
Adrenaline forces your pupils to open as wide as physically possible to let in maximum light so you can hyperfocus on the predator directly in front of you.
Like the bear.
Right. And by forcing that intense central focus, your brain actively blurs out your peripheral vision. It's a huge evolutionary advantage in a forest. But in your living room, losing your peripheral vision just simulates the symptoms of a severe neurological event.
It really does.
The anxiety itself is literally generating the biological proof of a life-threatening crisis.
Which brings up a really massive problem for anyone listening. If these strange, terrifying physical symptoms are just completely indistinguishable from actual severe medical emergencies, if a panic attack looks and feels exactly like a heart attack or a stroke, how do we know what to do when they strike?
This is where Dr. Marks delivers a very critical, non-negotiable warning.
Yeah, we need to talk about this.
Because all 10 of these symptoms, the palpitations, the crushing pressure, the blurry vision, the dizziness, they can absolutely be the presentation of a severe physical medical disorder. So you must never, ever just assume it is anxiety.
You cannot just write it off.
You really can't. You must let a doctor make that determination. She is adamant that you must seek medical attention to rule out cardiac, respiratory, or neurological issues before you ever jump to the conclusion that it's just a panic attack.
Especially if it's the first time, right?
Exactly. Especially if you have never experienced these specific symptoms before. The physical hardware has to be checked before we blame the software, so to speak.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? It sounds like if you are, say, sitting at your desk and suddenly feel that crushing back pressure and dizziness for the very first time, you shouldn't just pull up a mindfulness app and try to deep breathe your way through it.
No, absolutely not.
You need a professional medical ruling first. You need the EKG, the blood tests, the physical exam to definitively prove that the engine isn't actually failing.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this is the very definition of true health literacy.
How so?
Well, we often think being health literate means having this vast vocabulary of medical terms or, knowing how to diagnose ourselves on the internet.
Right, WebMDing everything.
Exactly.
Right.
But true health literacy is actually about respecting your body's warning systems enough to let a professional investigate them. It's recognizing the absolute limits of your own diagnostic abilities. You have to rule out the heart. You have to rule out the brain.
Because the stakes are just too high to guess? If you assume it's anxiety and it's actually a cardiac event, the consequences are fatal.
Precisely.
Mm.
And once a physical medical issue is firmly ruled out, and a medical professional concludes it is indeed an anxiety disorder, then you have this foundation of safety.
That peace of mind.
Yes. Knowing definitively that your heart is healthy actually strips the somatic anxiety of its primary weapon, which is the fear of death. Once that fear is removed, you can finally pivot to targeted treatment.
And Dr. Marks does touch upon the hope there at the end, which I appreciate. She mentions that once an anxiety disorder is confirmed, the medical community has multiple effective avenues.
Oh, tons of them.
There are specialized therapy options, medications that actually regulate the autonomic nervous system, and targeted natural remedies. But the route you choose depends entirely on the severity and the specific type of symptoms that you are having.
Because treating cognitive anxiety, like that constant looping worry about a home invasion, requires a very different approach than treating somatic anxiety, where your nervous system is bracing for a bear attack on a sunny beach.
Right.
The intervention really has to match the biological manifestation of the disorder. You don't always just talk therapy your way out of a nervous system that is structurally redlining.
Sure.
Sometimes you need physiological interventions to calm that autopilot down.
It has been quite a journey unpacking this today. We started by challenging that classic kind of cartoonish misconception that anxiety is just a worried mind, someone pacing the floor and biting their nails over a deadline.
Right, the stereotype.
Yeah. And we explored the deeply biological reality of somatic anxiety, walking through the incredible mechanics of those 10 intense physical symptoms. From the adrenaline-fueled heart palpitations and the blood-shunting weak legs, to the truly bizarre survival adaptations like the esophageal lump and the tunnel vision.
We broke down the profound disconnect between a calm mind and a panicked body, and, crucially, we navigated the absolute necessity of medical rule-outs. The fundamental rule of investigating first and never assuming.
We really want to thank you for joining us on this deep dive. It is not an easy or particularly comfortable topic, but understanding the sheer physical power of your own nervous system is really the very first step in demystifying the fear.
And as we wrap up, I want to leave you with something to ponder.
Oh, I love these.
If our physical bodies are capable of so perfectly simulating a life-or-death crisis, altering our blood flow, dilating our pupils, and completely changing our respiratory drive without our conscious minds even noticing a trigger, what does that say about the immense hidden intelligence of our nervous system?
That's a great question.
And if it is reacting that powerfully to an invisible bear, What subtle, everyday signals in our modern environment might it be desperately trying to protect us from?
Wow. It really makes you wonder who is actually driving the car, doesn't it? Just remember, if you ever feel that invisible bear breathing down your neck, do not just assume it is in your head. Go get it checked out. Until next time.